Hi, my name is Matthew, and I'm an application engineer here at Artec Systems. Today in this video, I want to go over how to apply textures within Artec Studio. Textures is another way of saying color, so in this video, we're going to go over tips and tricks on how to apply color to your mesh, and also improve the quality of that texture that you are applying. So for starters, I've already created my mesh that I want to apply my texture to. Inside each one of these scans are color texture frames that are automatically gathered while we are scanning. In our list, we can sort by the amount of texture frames, and also see how they are laid out. Artec will automatically capture a new color frame if it goes into a position that it hasn't taken a picture of yet. If we want, we can go into our settings and capture more texture frames by going into the Performance tab. Another thing we can take a look at besides just the number of texture frames that we have is also the size of our mesh. The amount of polygons that we have inside of our mesh will increase the amount of time it takes to apply the texture to it. We can go into our settings and reduce the amount of mesh size. I like to typically keep it to about the 1 million triangle range. So what I'm going to do is just duplicate my scan, and then this new duplication is what we will apply the reduction to. That way we have a backup of our master mesh file. With our mesh reduced, as well as verifying that we have enough texture frames, we can now go into our texture tab to begin applying our colors. The top of this toolbar is the area where we select the mesh that we will apply our color to, and the middle part is the scans that we will be taking our mesh from. You don't have to select all of them. In fact, you might find that you don't need to select all of them if one of those scans is just an overlapping scan of an existing one. Preview mode is a quick way to verify that your colors are correct. This doesn't generate any kind of PNG or JPEG file that we can export out with, but we can still adjust the triangle size and the output quality size of our texture. Once the texture is applied, we have a few extra settings we can now adjust to adjust the color before we export it out. Brightness adjusts the amount of light that there is within the scan. We also have saturation, which adjusts how gray or dark it is. Hue is what adjusts the actual color spectrum of our scan. We also have contrast and gamma correction to add a little bit of extra adjustments to our coloring. If we want to go back to be able to adjust those colors again, we can always right-click on our mesh and go to Adjust Textures. We also can see what the mesh looks like without any color by switching the color mode over to Scan mode instead of Textures too. If everything looks good in our preview, we can now select on our scans again in the Texture tab and go over into Export. Export has some additional settings such as enabling texture normalization and paint missing textures, so that way kind of darker spots can be filled in neater. We also have a Reduce Glare tab that we can enable to get rid of any kind of lighting. You can see around the bottom of our figure that we have a whitish hue. The slider bar within the reduction level is the level and intensity that it takes color from the surrounding areas to get rid of the whitish glare. With our second texture application finished, we can now see the comparison between the reduced glare and the non-reduced glare. Reduced glare can sometimes get rid of edge effects, but that's something that can't be cleaned up in post-processing or just making sure that you have a lower reduction level. Along with having an export, if we go back into our texture tab, we'll now have the ability to reuse the UV map as well. Reusing the UV map will allow us to go into our tools and inpaint in missing textures manually instead of just having it done automatically. If everything looks good, we can go over into File, Export, and select onto our mesh, and then we have in our drop-down different types of export formats. OBJ is the one I typically will go with, and when I click Confirm, it will ask me what kind of file type I want to export my texture with. I typically choose PNG as well. And with our export complete, we can now bring it into other kind of software such as SOLIDWORKS Visualize to create our renders. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like more video content on SOLIDWORKS, Visualize, or even Artec Studio, feel free to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can also reach out and contact us if you have any additional questions.